Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Andrew, and it's so great to have you here with us this afternoon. We are very excited for the session, and it's great to see so many of our educators online this afternoon. There may be a few more popping on a little bit later, but we'll just give them some time, but we'll get started just in the interest of the time that we do have this afternoon. And just before I do a full announcement, I'm just going to do our land acknowledgement if that's okay. Great. Can everybody see the screen that I'm sharing?
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you. So the Durham District School Board acknowledges that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships, both historic and modern, with the territories upon which our school board and schools are located. Today, this area is home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island. We acknowledge that the Durham region forms a part of the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, the Mississauga peoples, and the treaty territory of the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation. It is on these ancestral and treaty lands that we teach, learn, and live. The Durham District School Board recognizes that Indigenous rights are distinct. In the exercise of those rights, Indigenous staff and students shall not be subjected to actions with the aim or effect of depriving these distinct rights. And the Durham District School Board is committed to learning environments that are safe, welcoming, respectful, equitable, accessible, inclusive, and free from discrimination while placing human rights and equity at the center. And I would just like to continue and introduce our wonderful presenter with us this afternoon. On our advertisement for this session, you may be familiar with him as Dr. ABC, but I will read the full description that Dr. Andrew Campbell Brown has kindly provided for us so that we can get to know a little bit about who we're hearing from this afternoon. So Dr. Andrew B. Campbell, Dr. ABC, is an assistant professor teaching stream in leadership for racial justice in education in the Department of Curriculum, Teaching and Learning at the University of Toronto. His scholarship and teaching focus on anti-racist pedagogy and diversity in teacher education and educational leadership. Dr. ABC is well known to the Oise community for his leadership in advancing anti-discrimination work in teacher education and recently received Oise's 2022 Award for Excellence in Initial Teacher Education. Congratulations. He teaches courses in anti-discrimination education, leadership and diversity, educational change, urban education, and Black educators. Dr. ABC previously taught at Queen's University, the University of West Indies, Niagara University, Seneca College, and Durham College, in addition to past experience as a classroom teacher and administrator in Jamaica and the Bahamas. He has presented at numerous conferences and has delivered many presentations as a keynote speaker, motivational speaker, and workshop facilitator. He loves people, food, fashion, traveling, and bringing his community together for a good meal. And you can also follow him on social media. He has many handles, as well as his website, and I can post that in our chat here if that's helpful, but did want to address that as well. So I will stop talking and pass it off to our fantastic speaker that we have for everyone this afternoon, and so excited to hear all of the great learning that you're bringing forward, Dr. ABC. So I will pass it on to you.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Good afternoon again, everyone. Thank you so much. And it's good to see everyone. Please bear in mind that the session is being recorded. We will not record breakout rooms, so do not worry. Those are opportunities when we get to speak and engage, and we want to protect ourselves and also respect each other into those spaces. So absolutely, those will not be recorded. But I want to say how really happy I am. I see some familiar faces. I know I've seen a couple persons here before, but I see you, Angie. I see you, Angie. Angie's my neighbor over here in Ajax. And it's funny because you're going to hear me use the word love so many times. And I sent to the word love when I saw you because of how people make connections. And you're going to understand when I say the word relationship, Angie, what comes back to past discussion, because a lot of the work we're doing in pedagogy, in practice, in belonging, in diversity, inclusion, in equity, you name it. If you ask me, if you pull me aside any day and you say to me, Dr. ABC, what do you think is a missing ingredient? I will tell you, it is relationships. I will tell you without fear of contradiction, it is relationships. Many of us, we are missing the relationship part of the work. We are good with the pedagogy. We are good with the new books. We are good with the curriculum ideas, the activities. We are good with getting ideas from Pinterest, and we are good with getting the right YouTube videos and good with that. But we are lacking the relationships. Do we actually know the students we teach? Do we understand what is happening? And so today, in our first of our 3-part series, going into culturally relevant and responsive pedagogy and practice, looking at the culturally responsive educator. That's going to be the 3rd session. I think that's November the 17th, not to be missed, because we're going to take accountability for the work that we do. We're going to even learn how to be even more accountable to the work that we do. And so we want to get into this conversation today. We're going to start with fostering and sustaining intentional spaces of belonging. And I want you to understand that belonging has to be cultivated. It has to be fostered and sustained. You don't just walk in a school. I know some of you have been to different schools, and like me, many of you may have the privilege of being into different schools because of your role. I was an LTO for years, and I got to go into many different schools. I have taught in Jamaica in different schools. I've taught in the Bahamas in 3 different schools. I've taught in Canada in many different schools. And I have had the privilege to see what I call school culture and climate, and to understand the vast difference from school to school. A school 2 blocks up the street, the students feel a level of safety. You could feel the joy in the passageway. You could feel the joy in the hallway. And another school 5 blocks down the road. 5 blocks down the road, you realize this space is violent. This place is unsafe for particular students. So how do we create that opportunity? How do we create those spaces in our school? And so today we're going to look at a few things that we think about belonging, and we're going to jump into conversations as well. And we're going to talk about our equity, diversity, inclusion journey, because this is quite a bit happening where everybody is on a journey. And everybody's on the what I call the equity bandwagon. And here's a news. And many people have jumped off the equity bandwagon. I don't know if you remember, Angie, in 2020, when the George Floyd incident happened, everybody was on the equity train, and everybody was inclusion, and everybody was anti-racism, and everybody was anti-Black racism. And then you heard one morning we got up. And when we got up that morning, we heard the number 215. I'm sure you heard the number 215. Anybody remember? We got up one morning, Jennifer. We got up one morning, Sherry, and we just heard the number 215. The number of grades discovered, First Nation children. Tomorrow is Truth and Reconciliation. Tomorrow, that day we're talking about. And I asked you, how did we react? Many of us, we reacted. I remember what happened to me. I remember what happened to me, Angie. I cried. I remember I went into my bedroom and I cried as a school teacher who have taught grade 1 and kindergarten and grade 2 and grade 3 and grade 4, thinking so many kids did not come home from school. I cried. The same day, Julie, I had a workshop and I wore my orange cape. I had a beautiful orange cape and I wore it. And we said, you know, the land acknowledgement, that we did all the stuff, right? We did the stuff. And when it was over, I said to myself, is this it? I asked myself. I didn't ask Angie. I didn't ask you, Richa. I didn't ask you, Julie. I asked myself, Andrew, is this it? Because this could not be it. Wearing the orange t-shirt and crying and saying the land acknowledgement could not be it. What are your intentional things you're doing after these symbolism? And symbolism is important. After the symbolism, after those little things, what are you doing? What happens afterwards? And so I remember being very intentional about what happens afterwards of the symbolism. And so as we think about it, as we're having this conversation about belonging, one of the things I want us to realize is that we're going to take responsibility for our equity journey. We're going to examine the indicators of belonging, look at some theoretical context, and then the biggest word on my table there is the actions. How are we creating belonging as educational leaders? And yes, I call every one of you educational leaders. It is not a typo. It's not an error. Because many of us, we think educational leaders are the principals in our schools alone. Every one of us who are in charge of the well-being of our children, we are educational leaders. We are the ones they look up to. We are the ears in the class. We are the ones that have the power. I said in an interview the other day, I said, I think a lot of teachers forget the power they have. You have the power to allow a student's experience at school to be amazing. They run home like, I love my teacher. She's the bestest teacher in the world. I love that word, bestest. Not a word, I love it. My favorite, not a word. The bestest teacher. And you also have the power for children to go, I don't want to go to school. My teacher hates me. I don't like my teacher. They tease me, they bully me, they call me names. I do not want to go to school. We have seen it happen all the time. We have seen it happen all the time. So let us get personal right now, even more. And I'm showing you a picture of an equity journey. And we want to talk about our journey today before we get into culturally relevant and responsive pedagogy. Next time we meet and we get into all the fancy stuff, I want us to call ourselves to a level of accountability and ask ourselves, what is my equity journey like? Hey, equity. Everybody's giving themselves, big labels and titles. Equity. What is your journey? What is your equity journey like? Because I want you to understand that the equity journey, I genuinely wish it was like this. I genuinely wish it was just smooth sailing. We talk about anti-Black racism, anti-Indigenous practices, decolonization, cultural relevant and responsive pedagogy, beginning. You name the topics, we talk about them. You name them, unconscious bias. You just list them off your tongue and we just list them. And I genuinely wish we could just sail through and we just do our work and school becomes a place where everybody feels included. Here is the truth. The equity journey is like this. This is the equity journey. It's messy, it's muddy, it's full of entrance and exits. When you think you have got it, somebody says something. When you think you are there, somebody says something. When you think you are there, a parent comes to school. When you think you're on, and then we have a whole bunch of people who don't care, who do not care. We have a whole bunch of people who keep getting caught in inequitable and oppressive spaces. And let me just say it, I'm a teacher, 27 Septembers. So I'm speaking to teachers. It's a teacher to a teacher. I'm talking to you as educators. I have seen in schools. I have seen educators do very, very oppressive things in school. So I want us not to be offended and to be all get emotional and be like, oh my God, whatever. I want you to understand that these things are happening in school and how we are dealing with it. But here is the main thing. You can be this. I'm fine with this. Any day of the week, I'm fine with this. What I'm not fine with is us just parked up. What I'm not fine with is us just parked up when we are not doing anything. So I want us to understand from now that equity has its twists and its turn. So let me ask everybody a question. Let's have a good question. I want everybody to jump in the chat box and I want you to respond to me. Type in the chat for me. Name one thing. Let's get one from each person. 24 of us, let's get one. Name one thing in your school, in your center, in your organization that says to you, you belong here. Name one thing, one action, one thing that people do or something that when you walk into that building, you know you belong there. Go ahead, let's jump in the chat box with that. Everybody give me one thing that make you know you belong here. Ha ha ha. Peter Ann, thank you for starting us off. Powerful, Peter Ann. Thank you for starting us off with a powerful one. That's not an easy one. It's a powerful one. The smiles. My name on the door. My students are happy. Smile from Eric. The greetings. The friendly faces. The good morning you hear, Cherry Ann. The good morning. Go ahead, more. Let me hear more other things. Think about it. What are things that let you know you belong here? Let's get beyond the welcome and the smile. What are the other things? What are the other things? Parents of my students recognizing the work I do. You better speak up, Peters. Absolutely. Give me some more. What are some of the other things that says to you, I belong here? There are more stuff. Let me get some more. Being able to walk into the building with my head up. As a matter of fact, Maya, being able to walk in the building, period. Because there are buildings that people go where you are searched and you are stopped and you are questioned. I was telling somebody the other day that I flew first class, one of my first time I flew first class, and I saw someone looking at me and asking me if I need direction, because immediately they think that I shouldn't have been in this part of the plane. So they were trying to redirect me to where I belong. So these are the things that tells you. So here comes the shocker right now, everybody. Here comes the shocker. The number of things. Oh, Cherry, the key. The parking spot. The coffee machines. The names on the door. The laptop on the keyboards and the timetables. And you are on committees. And your name is plastered all over the building. On committees and break schedule and all this kind of stuff. It tells you work here. It tells you belong here. You have a t-shirt with the school logo. You have a cup with your coffee cup is from the school. These things said you belong here. But I want to tell you something. As many indicators that you listed that says to you, I belong here, there are many indicators that say to other people, you do not belong here. And you don't, because none of the things you listed have to say. Many of the things you listed are just automatic. Well, when it comes to belonging, there are also people who do not feel a sense of belonging. So ask yourself, do my students feel a sense of belonging? So what we're going to do, we're going to jump in our first breakout room. And as we look at this chart, you can take a picture of my slide, any one of them. I want you to think about all of these and look at them carefully. Take a picture, please, or write down the ones. Preferably take a picture. Let's do it, make it quick. And as we go into the first breakout chat for about 5 minutes, no more than 5 minutes, I want each of us to ask ourselves a question. And I'm going to put that question in the chat. And I want us to ask ourselves a very, very intentional question. And I want us to ask ourselves, I want us to select one of the 7 factors here impacting belonging. And I want us to ask us, discuss it. Okay? So here in the chat is a prompt. It's in the chat, everybody. So it says, select one of the following 7 factors impacting belonging and discuss what this looks like in your classroom or your learning environment. When we use the term and we say inclusion, what we're talking about? When we say identity, what we're talking about? Last night we had an amazing public class, Angie, and we talked about food as identity. And people got it because there are many people who have been embarrassed because of their food and their lunch. Many people feel excluded. I remember I'm sure many of you have seen the book, Don't Yuck My Yum. And people don't realize how many Asian children were teased and ridiculed at school because of what they bring to school for their snack. And that book came out, Don't Yuck My Yum, as an advocacy work for us to respect and appreciate each other. I remember the story of an Indian child. I told the story last night, who was in my class for years, in a school, and they're afraid to eat with their hands. And I had a meal at school that day, and I cooked curry chicken and white rice for my kids, and the parents signed, permission to do it. And there were some parents who come to help me. And this was the end of the school year, amazing year with my grade 1 students. And this boy came up to me and he said, "Mr. Campbell, can I eat with my hands?" And I said, "Sure." And he ran to his seat and he ate the lunch with his hands, and we had a great time, and everything was over. School was done. School was done. Everything was over. School was done. And then when school was over, I saw his parent come to the door, and they knock on my door, and I saw his dad and I saw his mom. And before his dad shook my hand and his mom could say anything, she started to cry. And she said, "Thank you, Mr. Campbell." Said, "You don't know the impact you have on my child, that he ran home to tell me he ate today at school with his hands and didn't feel." And she said, "Whatever you have done over the year, you have allowed my child self-esteem to know that he can and he's able. And I know you see my child. I see you." I want to ask you a little quick question. How are you making sure that the children you are responsible for know that you see them? You see them beyond the register and the attendance sheet. You see them beyond, are you present, are you absent? You see them, you truly, genuinely see them. What are you doing in your class? Assess to your children, "I see you." But let me even go deeper than that. What are you doing in your schools and your centers that say to your colleagues, "I see you"? I remember when we talk about anti-Black racism, the number of schools who had workshops about anti-Black racism and anti-Indigenous racism and anti-homophobia and anti-Islamophobia and all that kind of stuff. And I said to people, "Yeah, great, great." And I said, "How many of you we're talking about the children, but I said, how many of you see your coworkers? How many of you see your coworkers, your colleagues as well? How many of you see them?" And so we want to be intentional about this. So we have to understand that who is in charge of belonging is going to be you and I. It's going to be you and I. So let's go right into our first breakout room. I'm going to stop the recording and I'm going to pause it, and we're going to go into our first breakout room. All right, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, everyone. Some really good discussions in some of the room. I heard you, Janelle. I heard you. Was listening. I was listening deeply. I think it's Peter Gay, Peter Ann. Yeah, Peter Ann. I heard you. I heard you. I heard you.
Thank you.
I heard you. I heard you. Wonderful conversation in the breakout rooms. And for those who are listening to the video and you missed it, don't miss the next one, because all the juicy stuff is happening in the breakout room. Is there anyone who wants to just take a minute, just a minute, 30 seconds, a minute, to say something that really resonated with you in your breakout room? Anybody? Anybody? Something that really resonates with you? No? All right, we're good. We're fine. We carry on. We're doing good. We're going back to those. Go ahead, Janelle, please. Please, Janelle, go ahead. Janelle, thank you.
Hi. Yes. No, I kind of came into the tail end of it. I was a little bit late, but just the whole thing about putting a smile on your face, like with the adults in the room, in the building, it just speaks volumes and makes a world of difference if you just smile. No matter what's going on in your life, how bad your day is, just try to smile.
Yeah. And
or acknowledge people, right?
Thank you, Janelle. And it's funny that people think, some person may be listening to this and month after, 2 years after, year after, and think smile when it comes to equity, belonging, and inclusion. Smile, yes, a smile. Because I'm telling you, let's get back right into it. Some of the issues we're having in our school is not about the policies and the procedures or about the framework, it's the lack of belonging. And watch me carefully. What I'm going to do, Janelle, it's going to resonate with you. I'm going to take away all the stuff from this slide. And look what I have left. I have relationships. And that's what we've seen happening. People are doing a lot of work in inclusion and equity and leadership in this and in that, but they have no relationships. Tomorrow, everybody's going to be all doing first Indigenous recognition, and we're doing orange t-shirt day. If all you have is a feather and an orange t-shirt and a drum and a smoke, and after tomorrow is gone, you don't even recognize Indigenous people, you don't even care, you are not You have no relationship. What you have is a performance. And what is happening, as Peter and talk about, and I've been talking about, is the number of us who are caught up into performance. We are caught up into checking a box. And here's a trick. Many of us are being forced to check a box because that's what is the in thing, right? Give yourself a title on your shoulder. Give yourself a title now. Oh, what is your new title? Oh, I'm ally. Oh, okay. You're ally. And what's your new title, Maya? Oh, I'm an accomplice. Oh, okay. And what's your title, Angie? Oh, I'm a co-conspirator. Wow. I love it. I love it. And then I say, but tell me what you've been doing. Yeah, yes. I have pictures on my wall and they show black people. And the one picture on your wall of a black person is a black person playing a basketball. Are we there yet? And we have an Asian child in a picture, and he's a maths person, because that's what we think. The stereotype, the maths Asian child is quiet, and all he does is does maths. And the black boy, the black child, is gonna be a basketball player. I am calling on you, Maya, Julie, Janelle, calling you Jennifer, calling you Angie. I'm calling on me, Andrew, that's my name, to disrupt those stereotypes. I told a librarian, I would never forget, I was honored to be one of the keynote speakers with the Ontario School Librarian Association. It was like, I'm telling you, hats off to those librarians. Honestly, one of my best series. I said this on record. They were just amazing energy and honest and vulnerable. Some of you don't want to be vulnerable. And I remember I said, do an action that is intentional. Don't tell me what you're doing. When you finish with this workshop, go out and be intentional. And she came back, Janelle, about months after, and she said, Dr. Campbell, I want to share something. And she raised her and she said, you remember you talk about the pictures in the library? She said, I went back to my library, I looked at all the pictures in the big library. She said, I counted a lot of pictures. And you were right. There was one black picture. And you were right. It was a black boy playing basketball. She said, I took it down. And she said, I intentionally found pictures of racialized kids that looked different from the stereotype. Find a picture of a black doctor. Find a picture of an indigenous physician. For those who do not know, let me say this right now on record. Indigenous people are not people who only do festival celebration, do smoke and do drums and do feathers. Indigenous people are our superintendents. They're our politicians. They're our doctors. They're our nurses. They're our lawyers. Stop telling people indigenous people live a faraway land like it's a fairy tale. I wonder who is getting me so charged up? Is it you, Peter Ann? Is it you, Janelle? Why are you charging me up so much? Angie, I think it's you. I could call her Angie. I love her. She loves me so much. Who is charging me up so much? Because this is important. I feel the beautiful energy coming from you. And I realize I'm in a group of people who are okay with telling the truth, who are okay with understanding. We have to be more accountable. None of us is perfect. We have to be okay making mistakes and doing better and owning to the mistakes that this was not belonging. So let me tell you a story that I didn't plan to share. Everybody know I'm a storyteller. Let me share your story, Janelle. So years ago, new teacher, Janelle, 1995, young new teacher out of college, excited, I want to change the entire world. And I remember I was teaching adjectives in Jamaica. Remember at that time, we make all our posters. We don't buy them in stores. We don't buy them on Amazon. We don't buy them on Pinterest. We make them ourselves, remember, okay? So I'm aging myself. And I was doing adjectives. And you know at those times, we get the magazine from America. See why we need culturally relevant, responsive things, not just culturally relevant and responsive things, but culturally relevant and responsive creators, imaginators. You got me? Okay, wonderful. So we go to the store and I go to the dentist office and we get the magazine. We steal the magazine, Gina. You remember those days? Nobody give you them. You steal them. You know we have done those. And you go home and you take out the pictures to make the posters. And I'm teaching in Jamaica. I have a class of 45 children. Everybody's black. Kids in an inner city. Most of them come from poor families, struggling. Most of them come from some different kind of homes, single parent, you know, extended family, all that kind of good stuff and all that kind of bad stuff, good and bad according to where you're at, right? And I made a chart, Janelle, and it was, this boy is handsome, adjectives. This girl is pretty. This is a beautiful family. This is a nice house. Was a little picture of a white boy, little picture of a blonde girl with nice hair, a beautiful house upstairs and downstairs, garage, picket fence, you know, the one picture of the apple at the front and the sun over the right side and two birds over the left. And the family is a mom and a dad and a boy and a girl and a cat and a dog and a little girl holding a teddy bear. It took me years to realize how damaging that chart was. It took me years to realize in a workshop like this, I wasn't prepared, Janelle. I wasn't prepared to tell a story. I learned my lesson not to tell stories as I'm prepared. And I started telling the story and I cried, like in front of the audience, I bawled because it dawned on me then that everything that I was showing these kids that was pretty, was beautiful. I still feel funny when I say it. Nothing represented them. Talk about culturally relevant and responsive pedagogy. That was all in deficit. I let them know this is what a pretty looks like and none of you look like that. This is what a real family looks like and none of you have that. This is what a real house looks like and none of you live in that. So I want us to be very conscious. When I do workshops, Janelle, and when I do workshop, Maya, Julie, when I do workshop, Nyla, Jennifer, when I do workshop, people say to me, Dr. ABC, I have been looking at your slides. Wow. And I said to them, I hope you know I'm intentional about every slide, the pictures I use. And you're going to notice that right through, especially the next two presentations. I want you all to be more intentional about inclusion, intentional about representation. You cannot have 5 pictures on the wall and it's 5 little white girls, 5 little boy, and you have Asian kids and Indian kids and Ijabwean kids in your school. This is not negotiable. This is unapologetic. Representation matters. Your children need to see images of themselves in strength. If a little boy keeps seeing on CP24 a black man, and when they see the black man, he's bent over a police car. You see that a lot. I want when he comes to my class, Nyla, when it comes to your class, Jennifer, he must see a black man, and the black man is a judge, and the black man is a pediatrician, the black man is a hairdresser, the black man is a carpenter, the black man is a skier. Doing all those things. Because what we have been doing, all of us are caught up in the stereotypical image. I have university students who are surprised. Surprised I am their professor. Surprised I'm on the leadership team because they're not used to black men in these roles. I am in 2022. Kira, is it Kira? Kira or Kyra? Key? Wonderful, Kira. In 2022, Kira, I am still their first black professor. Where are you people living? Where are these people living? I am their first black professor. And because of that, they don't know how to handle me. They don't. Because the last black man they spoke to was the gardener or some cashier or somebody fixing their car. And all of a sudden, this black man, 6'4", that's me, gorgeous, that's me, is talking to them. So I want us to regularize what belonging should look like. And so as we're doing this, I love this quote. I love this quote. You can always take pictures and share anything of my slide. You all have my permission. You don't need my permission to go ahead. Too many of our students are made to feel like they're strangers in our schools, as if they're interrupting something. Let students feel that this classroom is theirs. When I do this, I say to people, how is your pedagogy? How is your practice? Is your classroom making space for student voice? When I was in the breakout room, I heard many people talking about how they connect to parents. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Parents must believe they are stakeholders in the school, not their visitors. Make your parents feel like the stakeholders in the school. I know some of you are scared of parents. You feel like if they come with problems. If you regularize them, their visitors to the school, it will not always be they come and never problem because they are regular people in the building. Make them regular, okay? And no one should spend a day in an environment where they do not feel safe. The lack of safety these students felt was partially due to the perceptions of their teachers, which contributes to a hostile school climate. This is a research. I didn't write this, so don't be upset and pissed at me. It says the lack of safety was partially due to the perception of their teachers. Imagine coming to a school where you don't feel like your teacher cares, your teacher sees you, your teacher don't wonder why you are here. I have been to schools before where that has happened. I have been to school where I was one of 2 Black teachers, and there was conversation about, oh, I guess the school is getting a lot of Black people now. So we have to be honest. If we are here to change inclusion, you will never get less than this from me. So don't think, oh, this session was strong. Let me come back to the next session. I think it's going to be less strong. No, it won't be. It won't be less strong. It's going to be just as much, because when I do the work of equity, diversity, and inclusion, I speak up honestly. I have been in too many spaces, Peter Ann, where people want to talk about inclusion, but they don't want to talk about who is excluded. So how are you gathering, having your coffee like me or your evening drink to sip? How are you here to have conversation about inclusion, but refuse to say anything about those who are excluded? We have to talk about the barriers. I see people who want to fix. I have been to schools and people want to fix inclusion, and they say, yeah, we're going to fix, and then I say, well, tell me some of the barriers. Da, 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 da. Ooh. You don't hear nothing. You hear like Insta spider climb upon the sprout. You don't hear nothing else. It's quiet because nobody wants to name the barriers. And one of the barriers I can tell you as a teacher, we can name is also educators who are not inclusive. Educators who are gatekeepers. Educators who go to the principal and says, oh, there's a Black parent downstairs. Oh, look, we have a lot of Black parents coming in the area. I've heard those conversations. Oh, and do you know that this girl, our mother wears an hijab? Oh, yes, we do. We see her. Our hijab pin is beautiful. But I guess you weren't here for a compliment. You were here to discuss her. So let us be honest. Belonging is a manifestation of deep connection. Deep connection. When I came on, I logged on early. Angie logged on and I smiled because I met Angie. I've spoken to Angie. Angie have bought my book. We have spoke. We have smiled. She's on my social media page. I have liked her picture. She have liked my picture. There is a connection. So when I saw Angie, I smiled because I said, well, I know somebody. Yeah, I'm going to be good. Even me, the speaker, even me, the guest speaker here, felt a little extra sugar because I saw somebody I know. Imagine when the kids come to school or students come to school and they feel that sense of belonging. So I love this one. I love this one, Maya. I love this one because we have an argument in our school that says, oh, our children don't understand all this equity stuff and they don't know. They're just 3 and 5 and 6 and 7 and they don't know these things. That is not true. Because we taught them early. You remember that activity we give them last week? Which one does not belong? And we give them a shoes and a socks and a handkerchief, and then we give them like something like an apple, and they know you can wear everything, but you can't wear an apple. They know which one don't belong. So I don't know how you come to challenge me. Well, not you, people, to say, oh, we should have these conversations around, with kids because they don't know. I'm going to tell you a little secret. I was asked to do 2 conversations about LGBT LGBTQ issues in school. And I was surprised when people complimented me so much to say, oh, Dr. Campbell, we love what we talk about it. It was elementary school, Jennifer. And I said, what were you expecting me to talk about? As an educator, I understand scope and sequence. So if I'm going to speak to a grade 1 and grade 2 and grade 3 kids about inclusion and respect for LGBTQ, I am talking about friendship and love. I'm not going into policies and practices of trans people and what 2S LGBTQIA plus mean. That's not what I go. We started, I read the book, Kindness is My Superpower. Anybody have that book? Good book, good book. Get it, get it, get it. Kindness is my superpower. And then I talk about love and friendship and respect and kindness. So I want us to be intentional when we do this kind of work, so they know which one belongs, right? And so here comes my next big question, everybody. Big question. I'm going to ask a few questions. My first one, who determines who belong? Who? So Peter and I'm going to let you know something. You cannot go to school tomorrow, find a classroom that you like, near the window, near the grass. You know, we like to choose the one near the window, near the grass. Paint the door yellow, Peter Ann, and write on it, safe space, you belong here. Okay, okay. You can't do that. Because who determines who belong? The users of the space. If I come into your room, Peter Ann, and I said, I don't feel like I belong, no matter how nice the paint is, no matter how good the cushion is, and no matter how nice the play area is, if I do not feel a sense of belonging because how you speak to me, how you treat me, I do not belong. So you don't determine who belong. I don't determine who belong. The users of the space. Ask yourself, are your parents feeling a sense of belonging? Are your students, if your students are feeling a sense of belonging, you're good to go. You win. No matter what your principals say, I can tell you, you win when your students feel a sense of belonging. I've gotten many awards, and I said it many times. My biggest award, my favorite award is when a child says, I love you, Mr. Campbell. You are the best teacher ever. And they say that September, they say that October, they say that December, they say that February, they say that right until June. Genuinely, because I have created a space where my students feel a sense of belonging. Now, here comes a big one. We're going to go back into our breakout room right now. But I want this to be captured before we turn off our video. What does belonging look like here? Here as in your school, your space, your room, your center, your aftercare, your before care, wherever you are. What does belonging look like here? And so what we're going to do, we're going to go into a breakout room and we're going to discuss that. And I'm going to give you a Jamboard. And I want you to populate that Jamboard. Everybody has access to the Jamboard, okay? And I want us, when we go inside the breakout room, when you go inside the breakout room, I want us to use this Jamboard, and I want us to populate it with sticky notes. I'm sure many of you have used a Jamboard before. If not, you're going to use a sticky note here, and you write your stuff, testing, and you press save, and it will go on the Jamboard somewhere, okay? And you see it like that. So I want us to think, what does belonging look like here? We're going to go in a breakout room. We're going to discuss it. We're going to talk, but we are going to fill up the Jamboard. I want it to be full. What does belong? So everybody click on the link, everybody, if you can, and you'll have power also to share your screen. So if you go into a room, one person can share their screen and be the type and be the scribe for the group. It doesn't matter. I know some of you maybe in your car or your other place, you don't have access. That is fine. I'm happy you are here. I'm happy you are engaging. That tells me a lot, right? So click on the Jamboard, everybody, as best as you can, as many as we can that can get on the Jamboard. And I want us to have that discussion. What does belonging look like here? Recording will be paused. Welcome back. I'm sure you see the work done by the group. I'm sure you see the work. What does belonging look like here. Excellent job. Excellent job. Students are represented, the portrait, the warm look, the hugs, the systems that you have created for learners. Choices, co-created material, eye contact, family. I saw the word family twice. Family again over here. I spoke to a superintendent just this week who is having a really serious issue getting the school and other people to understand the connection that is necessary with families. So I love this, belonging. And you all can get a copy of this. So don't worry, you can take a picture. You can also have access. You can download a copy of this as well. What does belonging look like here? I love this one. I love the sharing of ideas. I love the sharing of ideas. I love the sharing of ideas. Family photos on the wall. You know, when you said engage, I love this, but I want to push back at somebody and ask, when you say engaged, what do you mean? Because engagement look different for different people. Some person's engagement, thank you. So I see your comment in the box. Thank you so much. So for different people, engagement look like different things. So I hope engagement for you is intentional. I hope engagement for you is authentic. I hope engagement for you is placing the students at the center of the work, students and family. I love the word access. I saw the word access here. Student voice, powerful student voice. Greetings in home language. Excellent, right here. Excellent. Can we take that another step further? We're talking about culturally relevant responsive pedagogy. We have done this quite a bit. Can we take that a next step further? How can we take languages to another level? That people feel like they are not doing something wrong when they don't know Canadian English. They don't make them feel less than when they don't know Canadian English. How do we respect and represent languages and the beauty and the diversity? I told a principal once, I said, instead of locking up the students who just come off the plane in these ESL classes and like they're so far off, because sometimes the ESL class has a way to be at the end of the hall over the next block. Right? I said, wouldn't it be nice to have that child come to the office and say, good morning and welcome to school. It's Monday in their language. Isn't it be lovely to when the school starts, you just say, buenos dias, alumnos, ¿cómo está? Me llamo Andres. Wouldn't school be amazing? And then somebody takes the mic and says, my name is Sandra, and good morning, my name is Andrew. And we just had Andres, is a new student from Spain, who just said good morning to everyone. Wouldn't that be something else? And the next morning, somebody say it in Urdu, and next morning, somebody who's Punjabi say it, and the next person from Ghana say it in Twi, and the next person say it in French, and the next person from Haiti say it in French. And they said, oh, I didn't know people in Haiti speak French. I thought only Paris is French. He said, oh no, there are Caribbean islands that speak French. Wouldn't it be lovely when the children get to grow and learn from the difference and create a sense of belonging? It would be amazing. So I want to think about it like that. So that was my next question. Now here comes my next question. Are we going to go back into the breakout room again? Because we want to talk. We're not here for a show. We're here for interaction. And I see you in the breakout room. I love it. How do we create safe spaces in the classroom? Notice I said that, Angie, I put safe in brackets. You notice? Because what is safe for me may not be safe for you, Angie. Thank you, Peter. And sign language too for the nonverbals. Wow. I can tell you, if we ever become intentional about inclusion, school would be so sweet. Angie be staying at school overtime all the time. She would be running home to her amazing family, right? Right? She would be, Angie be like, let me stay at school all night tonight. School. Right? We have to create those spaces. So I want to rush back into, we're not going to go into a breakout room, but I'm going to come back to this in a minute. But I want us to talk about this for a minute. You know, you will never build an effective relationship I want you to look at the question, but remember, you'll never build an effective relationship when students do not feel safe. I love this quote from one of my master of teacher student back in 2020, when she said, I never forget, I believe true inclusion is beyond just reciting the school guidelines on the first day of class. It is beyond mentioning minority identities, racial, sexuality. As a side note, I find that a sense of belonging in a classroom can only occur when it is reflected in the teacher's teaching practice. You are the leader. You are the amazing person who is going to create. I feel a deep sense of belonging in your classroom. I feel like I can truly be who I am, a Black Muslim woman without any judgment. Thank you for asking. A student wrote this for me, to me. Are we allowing our students to be their best selves in our classrooms? Must our colleagues hide themselves for you to be belonging? So when you think about belonging, I love this other quote from Milnex 2020. Creating a sense of belonging isn't just about being friendly or kind. It's more than the smiles. The smiles are important, but it is about grasping the ways that some of our students experience classroom as foreign, intimidating, hostile, and injurious. It's about providing a consistent psychological, intellectual, and emotional counter narrative to the microaggressions, imposter syndrome, stereotype threat that your minoritized students experience. We have to dig deeper. The smile we start with, the hugs we start with, the laugh we started all of those things. But we have to come to the place when we are creating intentional space of belonging. And I use this as a platform. We all are educated people. We understand Maslow. We have seen Herzberg, and we know about the Nardins and the Anifan and all these people. Maslow is the most popular one. And we see anybody see where belonging is at? Anybody see where belonging is at? Belonging is way above safety and psychological needs. So when children come to school and they're scared and they're hungry and they're embarrassed and they're hiding who they are and they're ashamed and they're intimidated and they're bullied, they're not going to be the bright sparks you think they're going to be. They don't feel safe. How are they going to show their colors? How are they going to shine? I always get quite, just shake my head when I hear people talking about, oh, I want you to shine. You shine. And then we refuse to realize there's darkness in the school, darkness in our systems, darkness in our structures, darkness in the lack, darkness in the inequities. I have been to schools where one school is located up there and I teach at that school and they have every single thing you could think of. My cupboard is like a Walmart. I have every single masking tape and sellotape and 50 different kinds of scissors and glue. You could name it. You could shop in my classroom cupboard. And then I go to a school down the street, 20 minutes drive. And I had to run out of the school the first day I went to the school and go to the dollar shop to buy the basic things. And it's the same school board. So don't tell me about equity and inequities. It's rampant and it is there. I have been to schools where one school I've been at, we have iPads, we have Chromebooks, and we have an amazing computer lab. The same school board 20 minutes down the road in a school where most of the kids are Black and Hispanic. There is not one iPad, no technology. Same school board. You think people don't see that? You think the superintendent don't know that? So when I go to places and people try to perform equity, I don't condone the performance of equity. I don't encourage the check boxes of equity. I said we need to get to a place where we are honest and authentic and say to ourselves, we need belonging. It has to rest on safety and psychological needs. So when we say we are creating belonging in our classrooms, I'm going to leave a few things with all of us. First one is understanding self. We discussed that this evening already. Know who you are. Check yourself. Be honest about who you are. Hold yourself accountable. Hold yourself accountable. Be honest about who you are. Hold yourself accountable. Understanding the children. Get to know your children. Get to know them. Spend quality time knowing who they are and their families and their communities and where they are from. Not all your Asian kids are from China. Some of them are from Korea. Some of them are from Vietnam and Laos and other places. Get it right. Spend time to pronounce their names. Knowing and connecting to the community. Fostering an inclusive school culture and climate. That's our job. Let's foster that, everybody. Foster that. Using equity lens in your work. And I want to warn everybody, because we love to hear this word equity lens. It's one of the most popular words these days. Equity lens, equity lens, equity lens. Equity lens are not, name brand Coach, Prada, Gucci glasses, They are not. I have a nice Coach glass, but I think I have a couple, I think I have about 3, Janelle. Don't be jealous, okay? It's not those nice glasses, Janelle. Equity lens show you all the messy stuff. Some people put on equity lens and they go, oh, I'm so sorry. Because when you put on the equity lens, you see the inequities, you see the oppression, you see those things that you have been hiding from. So when I hear people say, oh, we're going to use an equity lens, I go, okay, be ready to see what's going to happen. Culturally relevant and responsive pedagogy. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. Culturally relevant, and let me just warn, not tomorrow, I say tomorrow, October the 20th, let me warn all of us. Culturally relevant and responsive pedagogy is not just, let me get a book with a Black girl on the cover. Let me get a book with an Asian girl on the cover. Let me get a book with an hijab wearing girl on the cover. Oh, let me get a book with a feather and a First Nation and orange. That is all fine. Let me get a book with a child in a wheelchair. Let me get a book with a child who uses a cochlear implant. All that is important, but it goes beyond the material. It's deeper than the books. I'm going to give you a magic word. So when you come back, you get ready for me. Culturally relevant to responsive teaching is about liberating pedagogy. Jennifer, it's liberating pedagogy. It's a pedagogy that says to a child, you're going to become and be in my class. Ooh, I feel chills when I say that. The kind of teaching and practice that says to a child, in my class, you will be and you will become. Because I'm liberating you. My pedagogy makes you smile. It makes you happy. It makes you feel safe. It makes you know you belong. It makes you want to come to school even when you have the flu. Stay home. Teacher don't want to get your sickness, but I know why you want to come to school. I tell them all the time that when I said, if you have the flu, stay home, because you all make Mr. Campbell sick all the time. I know you love me. I know you miss you. Yay, I miss you too, but stay home. But it's a kind of pedagogy that the kids want to be in your class. They want to show up. Creating brave spaces, creative brave spaces. Increased representation. Accountability is key. You can't say you're doing this work and you're unaccountable. Accountability is key. Reflecting on your practice is important. Reflecting on your practice. You have to be the one to ask yourself. You have to be the one to ask yourself, am I doing a good job? And I see your comment. Thank you, Will Step. I see your comment. And thank you, Jennifer. I see your comment there. Absolutely. I see your comment in the chat. It belongs to all of us. Thank you for sharing that and bigging up Jennifer and highlighting that. It's important. It's a freeing pedagogy. It gets you emotional because just kids want to be there. They want to be there. So as you wrap this up, I'm going to leave you with this. I'm going to leave you with this. Imagine if belonging was foundation. What do you think could happen if belonging? I did an activity once, Jennifer. I gave everybody this thing on a piece of paper. and I said to them, write for me what you think. And maybe that's what I want you to do, reflecting. What you think would happen if belonging was foundation. What you think would happen if belonging was foundation. What would happen? Now, as we wrap this conversation up, I'm going to ask everybody to do a silent write. It's very, very important. When I say important, I'm telling you it's important. I want everybody to do a silent write. You're going to answer 4 quick questions. Not just a word will do. We're going to take 3 minutes to do that silent write. It's in the box, everybody. It's very good because when we come back, we're going to take it up. We're going to take it up. And if you open it on your desktop and you don't want to do it now, but open it on your desktop and leave it for like tomorrow morning or later on, because you don't want to lose the link. But I need every single person to complete that. It's very important because when we come back the next time, we are going to begin with this conversation. We're going to begin with this conversation. And it's important that we sit in a level of reflection. Thank you so much, Janelle. It's important that we sit in a level of reflection. And so as we are leaving the space, we are going to leave the space in a minute. As we are leaving the space, I want you to answer those questions. And I'm going to bring them on the screen because I want to allow those who are watching the video to see the questions because they won't get a copy of the question. I want them to see what we are asking ourselves, what we are discussing, what we are owning ourselves to, because this is where it's important for us to engage in that reflection. And so as you're getting ready to leave, I want us to be intentional as we ask ourselves, one thing I'm learning, one thing I'm unlearning, one action I will perform. We can't leave here without acting. We can't leave here without acting. Acting is a must. Action is a must. One question I have, ask a question. We're going to take up those questions when I come back on October the 20th. And one thing I'm struggling with, and I put that there because I want you to understand it is okay to wrestle with some of these ideas. I want you to give yourself the patience and I want you to give yourself the grace. I never said give yourself laziness. I never said give yourself check boxes. I want you to give yourself the patience, give yourself the grace, give yourself enough love to say, I will grow, I will make mistakes, I will get it right. So I want everybody to complete that. Here comes the best part of the news that I didn't share with you. When we're finished, it's anonymous. Of course, you know it's anonymous. And then everybody will get a copy of it. Everybody will get a copy. Because I want all of us to see how we as a group, how we are learning, unlearning, reflecting, growing, changing, the tensions we are feeling, what we are worried about, what we are concerned about, what we want to do. And so I want to leave you with one of my most popular quotes. Your actions to promote inclusion within your organization must be intentional and deliberate. Your actions to promote inclusion within your organization must be intentional and deliberate. Intentional and deliberate. Thank you so much for engaging with this first part 1 of a 3-part series. Those of you who are listening by video, you see what you missed. All the stuff in the chat room is so juicy. We don't record that, so you miss it. Do not miss the next 2 sessions. It's going to be amazing, and we're going to be getting into some deeper stuff. Talk about culturally relevant responsive pedagogy, and then we're going to center the culturally responsive educator. Thank you so much. It was my pleasure serving you all today. Thank you, thank you, thank you.